So, you brought up a little bit of politics. You say that Kaepernick's not being white-balled, that's because of his stats and the distracting clouds that are surrounding him, which is preventing him from getting an NFL job. You're probably right. He really only thrived over Coach Jim Harbaugh's system, and once Harbaugh left, so did his stats. You brought up politics, now it's my turn. Let's talk about immigration. Our country was built on immigrants. The British, the Italians, the Irish. Hell, I'll just say it since we're doing politics. The Africans. Now, I don't really know much, if not anything at all, about the U.S. immigration policy. Didn't major in politics. But here are my thoughts. Should athletes be allowed to have their family and friends brought over to the U.S. for protection? Now, I'm not saying the U.S. is perfect by any means, but it's definitely better than, say, Venezuela. Speaking of Venezuela, a Detroit Tigers baseball player, Miguel Cabrera, says he can never go back to Venezuela, otherwise he'd be killed. Several years ago, another Detroit player, Urbina, he was held for $6 million of ransom. During this year's All-Star break, Cabrera was talking about how he's tired of paying ransom money and worrying about his mother and family and friends for being held for ransom because he's making all this money in the United States. It's distracting for him. Now, a logical thing, being a nice person, might say, hey, why doesn't he just have them come over to the U.S. and he's got money, I'm sure he can pay and work his way over. And well, it sort of brings up a bunch of questions. Like, whom is he allowed to bring? How many people? When would they be allowed to be in the U.S.? Is this a permanent thing or just while they're playing? These are a lot of tough questions to ask. There are already so many unemployed people here in the U.S. One of our teachers, Mr. Dorian, posed the question, should the U.S. play Super Cop or should we clean up our own backyard first? Sure, it's nice to help out other people, but sometimes you do have to help yourself out first. It's tough to say, hey, let Cabrera's mom come on over to the U.S. so she's protected, but it's going to raise more complications. I mean, if he's paying already a bunch of ransom money and worrying about his mom being kidnapped now, imagine what it would be when they find out she's allowed to go over. She'd be held until they're allowed to come over too. No wonder why he's hitting under 260 this year. Or, hey, it could just be old age catching up to him. Baltimore, what are your thoughts on this situation? Or are you just going to say nothing like a bunch of other people for job security? I'll see you on Thursday.